Well, good afternoon. I'm Julie Broadway, president at the American Horse Council. We're delighted to have you with us today. And we are very excited about today's webinar because it's on a topic that we believe plays a pivotal role in shaping successful careers, and that's about internships. So whether you're a student who is exploring your future path, a recent graduate who's navigating the job market, or you're an educator trying to guide the next generation, we think internships are more than just resume boosters, they're transformative experiences. They bridge the gap between classroom theory and real world practice, offering invaluable exposure to professional environments, industry expectations, and hands on learning. And interestingly enough, I Googled this just so I could share this statistic. According to LinkedIn, research says that interns are almost 25% more likely than non-interns to start a full-time position within 6 months of graduation. And in today's competitive market, we think that's a big plus. So for the American Horse Council, internships aren't only an opportunity for students to get real-world experience, but their contributions to our research efforts are just invaluable. Back in September, I penned an op-ed piece for AgriPulse magazine on the quiet power of interns, and I just wanted to share, this was my opening line. We have a saying in our office that while America may run on donuts, the American Horse Council runs on interns. And we don't just say that like a slogan. We truly believe that. Our interns do more than just work on neglected projects that typically fall by the wayside because we never have enough time or bandwidth, but they tackle these really complicated, emotional, and impactful assignments. And I'm going to give some examples of that as we go along. Internships to us often serve as a first step towards long-term employment, and in many cases, they lead directly to job offers. We had 4 scholarship recipients at our annual conference this year in June in Washington, and all 4 of those scholarship recipients networked that audience and made some invaluable contacts, and I think almost all 4 of them landed a new opportunity coming out of the conference. In addition, these opportunities help individuals discover their passions, refine whatever their goals are, and gain some clarity about what kind of work truly excites them. And I'm going to speak from personal experience. I was an intern when I was after my junior year of college for the summer, and that internship totally redirected the direction I wanted to go with my career. So it was really invaluable to helping me understand what I was really excited about and what really gave me something to do. So we're here today to help you learn firsthand about internship opportunities, how you can find some places to land and some opportunities that are out there, just help you unlock some doors, help shape your future, empower some growth, that kind of thing. So I'm going to pause there, and I'd like to introduce Katie Reynolds with the American Quarter Horse Association. I've known Katie for quite some time, and they have some great things going on over there. So Katie, in your own words, why are internships essential for career development?
Well, I think, Julie, it's interesting that you kind of opened calling back to your intern experiences. And so many of us have those and can kind of reflect back and just know that they're really critical for us personally in establishing our pathways forward, making those contacts. I actually just ran into someone or met this person for the first time last summer at our Youth World Show in Oklahoma City, and found out that we had a contact in common from an internship that I had more than 20 years ago. I mean, there's just no end to how these internships can impact each and every one of us. For me, as someone who has managed interns for the last, 15 plus years, I think what I have seen is that more and more these days, students are arriving at college without as much hands-on horse experience, and maybe without as that direct tie into the horse industry as what we perhaps might have seen 25 years ago or so. So they may not have those connections in place already. They may not have tried as many different things in the horse industry. Perhaps they haven't had the experiences that will help them narrow down exactly what they want to do. But, they may have experiences that they don't even realize necessarily will help them transition into another part of the horse industry. So if you have office experience, if you have customer service experience, all of that is incredibly valuable in this business, really any aspect of it that you go into. So, an internship can help you build the experience you need. It also can help young people understand how to leverage those strengths and those experiences that they do have already. And then I think the other part of it for me is that interns are usually students, and students are good at learning. And we all need to learn throughout our career, but being able to make that transition from being a learner to a producer to an employee or whatever, this is a great way to say, hey, I know that I don't know everything. I'm going to ask to work with you all as an employer and me as an intern to learn how to do what y'all do or some piece of that. And the expectations are appropriate at that point. So you're learning how to be a good employee and how to build those muscles for working, producing output. And I think that it's a great way to partner with younger people to go forward.
I think that's awesome. I'm going to add to what you said. We take interns at the American Horse Council of all types of backgrounds. Some of them are business majors. Some of them may be from a horse background. Some of them are going to school for a degree in marketing, but they have horses on the side or compete or those kinds of things. And we say to all those interns, there's a place for you in the equine industry, in the association world, at a breed association or a discipline association, or if you're passionate about something, you'll find your niche in the horse world. I have a good friend whose daughter was really into seamstress and designing clothes, and she went to textile school. And so it was great because she ended up becoming a show clothing designer, for lack of a better description. And it was fascinating how she parlayed her love of horses with this other passion she had and ended up with a whole new career opportunity. Emily Stearns is with me today from the American Horse Council, and I'm going to call on her because Emily has also been an adjunct professor and worked at the University of New Hampshire for a while. And so I'm thinking, Emily, from your faculty perspective, why do you think that internships are so essential for career development?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things. One is the networking turns into kind of being very essential for helping students have connections once they get to the other side of college. The big part of entering the workforce is having a network. And so I think having professionals outside of your college bubble to help you connect. I know, Julie, I've heard you offer to help make connections with interns once they're on the other side with other associations, groups, are looking for entry-level employment that they would be a good match for. And I think the other side of that too is, your first job out of college isn't going to necessarily be your career. And I think internships help students kind of understand maybe a little better what they do and don't want in a job once they get to the other side of college. So when they start applying to stuff, they have a little better idea of kind of where to go, what works for them. Maybe working remotely for them is not going to be their long-term match. Or maybe they really want to be their own boss, and that's what interning teaches them, and that's totally fine too. But I think having that kind of real world experience with a boss and a network that isn't your direct professor or your own peers is a really important kind of part of growing up and entering the workforce.
Awesome. So Leslie, so good to see you. Hope you are well. Tell us a little bit about KEMI? Because I bet a lot of our listeners aren't familiar with what you guys do at the Kentucky Equine Management Internship.
Oh, great. Thanks, Julie. Can you hear me?
I can.
Good. I'm in far west Texas today. So the Kentucky Equine Management Internship, KEMI, was started about 26 years ago. And what it is we work with all the big thoroughbred farms in the Lexington area in order to bring students in for about a 6-month internship experience. They can come in our spring breeding season or our fall sales prep and marketing internship. But I think it's a way, we don't advertise. That's probably why a lot of people haven't heard about us. We try to keep it kind of small-ish, although I take about 50 to 60 interns a year. It's a way for students to come to the horse capital of the world, Lexington, Kentucky, and they work on the farms, but we supplement that with weekly lectures and activities to draw in all facets of the equine industry to kind of give them some exposure. And just like Emily was saying, it's a way for them to meet people that are doing all kinds of different jobs that maybe they didn't think about, but they're doing it in sort of a protected environment on a farm where they have a mentor, where they have some supervision, but in the horse capital of the world. So they, like I said, can explore all different kind of avenues and things to do, to maybe, verify what they want to do is what they want to do, or not what they want to do, kind of just give some better exposure to some of those jobs and opportunities that are out there.
That's awesome. When you think about this, and you've had a lot of students over the years, why do you think that internships are so essential for their career development?
Well, I've had 1,135 interns over 26 years, so it's a lot. And I think it's because, with funding cuts in higher education, a lot of programs just can't give as much exposure to everything. A lot of times, especially some of the smaller schools, you might have one equine professor. They can't possibly cover every discipline, every breed, everything. And so I think it's beneficial for students to get outside of what their kind of comfort zone is and to try some different things and to explore, like I said, options they might not have heard about. And that's one of the things I hear from my interns all the time. Never would have thought of that as something I could do with horses. It wouldn't have occurred to me till I got there and I saw all these things, and now I know what I want to do. So I think that's really the benefit of it.
Awesome, awesome. So Emily, help me out, because my next question is about the pluses and minuses of paid versus academic credit. So we have a range of interns every semester. Students can do them fully remote, and they can do them for academic credit if they've met with their advisor or to set that up. Or they can get a paid internship, which is not a lot from us because it's more of a stipend than an hourly kind of thing. But I know for our interns at the American Horse Council, some of them really like doing it for academic credit. That's their preferred method. Some of them like to do the internship while they're still taking some classes, so they prefer the stipend model. What's your reaction, Emily? Because you've had, I don't know how many, several interns that have reported to you in both settings. So what do you think are the pluses and the minuses?
Yeah, we've had a couple dozen at this point. So I think, in terms of the unpaid internships, that always to me kind of rides a fine line a little bit. And so I think making sure they're getting something out of it other than just the experience, right? So the course credit, I think, is really important. And I think it's a part of motivating students to really get out there and make sure that they are going outside of their comfort zone. I find the students that are doing it for course credit, they have a lot of reporting requirements, so that tends to keep them very engaged because they have a very set outline of learning objectives. I find it's a little easier working with them in terms of what they want to get out of an internship because they have kind of that guidance and that set of parameters. And then on the flip side of that, for the paid students, I think it's so important to, if they're not getting any sort of benefit for course credit out of it, I think it's so important to pay them if you can, because that's part of the career experience, right? Like getting something for your work and knowing your worth and knowing you're valued. And even though it's a set amount of time, and I'm not saying we're paying them millions of dollars, we're paying them what we can, but it's something. And I think it helps them feel like they are actually benefiting from the workforce and understanding, the students getting paid, we're teaching them how to invoice. And if you're going to be an independent employer, that's a really important thing to understand how to do. We're teaching them how to value their time. We're teaching them how to navigate taxes. We work through that with them in terms of a 1099, having to do a W-9, W-4. I'll let Julie speak to that. I can never remember which one. But understanding how to do that. Some of them have never filled that paperwork out before. So there's learning experiences and value in kind of both ways, I find. And the quality of intern, I find, doesn't matter. I don't feel one student's doing better than another if they're doing it for coursework or pay. I find they're both those types of students, they're engaged and they're happy to be here.
So Katie, tell me, at the American Quarter Horse Association, do you guys have paid internships or course credit internships? What do you guys think are the pluses and minuses? And Emily alluded to the fact that I get so many applicants for our internships, I can't fill them all. So I often refer them to other people. And I had a great example of a student who was studying museum preservation and some other things like that. And I sent her over to the American Quarter Horse Foundation because they have a really robust museum there. And she had a great internship with you guys. But speak to that a minute, Katie. How are your internships structured?
Yeah, so we always do pay for our interns because, as Emily mentioned, we want to make sure that we're a good employer who's valuing their input. And so we pay an hourly rate. We are very happy to work with them on fulfilling any academic requirements so they can get credit if that's an option for them too. And, really in all other ways, we treat them like an employee. So clear management expectations, guidelines, clearly defining a scope of work. And I think that approach, it has been good for us as an organization to make sure that we are providing a good internship experience, and that we are going to put their talents to the best use possible. And also it is delivering the best, most valuable experience to those young people too, so that we're helping to build that ramp into a career going forward.
Well, before I go to Leslie, just clarify for me, at the American Horse Council, we've had some high schoolers, we have had undergraduates, and we have had graduates, and we have one PhD and one JD student. So do you guys, Katie, take students at very different places in their career, their educational path?
Do we at AQHA?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, ma'am. We have had students that are as young as, I think after their freshman or sophomore year of college, all the way up to graduate students that we've worked with on specific projects. And now that I say that, we've actually worked with a local high school leadership and career development program where we had a young gal who came in, I think it was 2 mornings a week to do work for us here. And then we've had a few that we've worked with remotely on projects to help fulfill their high school credits as well. So it really runs the gamut, and we try to make sure that we have an appropriate scope of work for each of them. So it looks a little different every time.
Yeah, same for us. Now, Leslie, how does your internship program work? Do you have course credit? Do you have a paid position? Or you're in a whole different model because they're coming to live in Lexington?
Whole different model, Julie. So the internship was really started by the thoroughbred farms there in Lexington. Labor on the farms is always a problem. But how ours works is we're a very small nonprofit company. I mean, we have 1 employee, that's me. And what we do is we work with all the farms to place the interns. So the farms are our partners in the internship. And so we do ask the interns to pay $2,500, which I know sounds crazy, but in a way it keeps them vested into it. Like they're less likely to leave if they, find that the work is too hard. They've skin in the game, exactly. But what they get for that is the farms provide housing and utilities for them for the 22 to 24 weeks they're here. So they're here for a whole semester. And they also pay usually around $15 an hour, and it's a full-time working job on the farm. So yeah, they're going to paid $2,500 to do the internship, but they're going to get a whole lot more out of it than that. And most of them will end up getting paid between $15,000 and $17,000 during the internship. They can also do it for credit in college. So most of the colleges will give them credit for doing the internship. So I tend to draw students that are juniors, seniors, but I'm certainly open to students who have already graduated doing the internship sort of as a transition into before they take a full-time kind of career job if they want to do some exploration. But I've had a range. I've taken some students straight out of high school. My age range has been 18 to 47 in terms of interns. So I'll take the non-traditional student as well. It's all about just trying to get a foot in the door, learning about the industry, and finding their place within it.
It's not uncommon for us to hear of veterans who have come back from some kind of deployment who are thinking, what's my next career? And they want to explore an internship so they can figure out sort of where to go. So I can see you getting somebody way on up in age who might want to take a different route. So.
And I've had some, people that just want a career change. They just want to, they've always loved horses, but they took a job because they didn't think they could get something that paid enough during horses. And they said, I don't want to do this. I want to do the horses. And they've come back sort of as a second career option. And I'm open to that too.
That's cool. So Emily, my next question for this group is about how we see internships building critical skills and confidence. Now, I can honestly say I've had several interns that were I directly mentored. I know Emily had several that she mentored. And what I think they came away with was a lot of really great skills to understand time management, to do research that we've asked. We meet with our interns weekly. We have a short sort of quick Zoom call with them to see how they're progressing on their project, to give them some direction. But again, we sort of do what Katie described. We have a scope of work. We tell them what we're looking for is the final deliverable. And we sort of cut them loose to go do that, but we touch base with them frequently. But Emily, and to what I said, what are those skills that you think you've seen some of your interns build off of?
So I think for us, because we are fully remote, that brings a bit of a unique set of skills to them. So for our internships, typically they walk away with kind of that ability to self-start. They need to be good self-starters because we're not micromanaging them. We're not seeing them every day. We're doing that weekly check-in. We're available on email and Teams, but really they need to be able to handle initiating, doing work by themselves. We give them set lines, communication skills to they start strong, but usually by the time checking in with our meetings, their communication skills to improve. And I apologize, internet is...
It's a little sketchy right there.
Am I less sticky now?
You are. You're better.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. My internet doesn't like the rain apparently. So I was just saying communication skills are really important, especially with these remote students. So they don't have to start with strong communication skills, but we do feel by the end of it, we're hoping to develop them that along with the self-starting and being able to really initiate their own workload, within the parameters we give them, they need to communicate what they're doing well. They need to make sure they're checking in with us. A lot of what we're doing typically requires them to reach out to legislators, to reach out to stakeholders and members. And so these kind of ongoing communication skills, whether they're virtual or on the phone or in person, are really important. And I think I don't want to pull the younger generation's card, but I think it's something they all need help building that skill. And I think the internships really help them with that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about that. I was just going to add that selfishly, one of the things we do with the American Horse Council is not only are they assigned this project and they're assigned a mentor, so they're working on their work, but we invite them to come to our staff meeting, which we do virtually on Zoom, because we want them to also learn about what we do with the American Horse Council. We want them to understand some of the legislative and the regulatory issues we're facing, because we would like to turn them into another opportunity to help spread the word about some of the work that we do. And some of them have done some fascinating projects, I think specifically one that jumps to mind right now, Emily, is the fantastic job that the students did on the euthanasia and disposal project, because we frequently hear from horse owners that they struggle when they have to make that tough decision about what it's going to cost to have a horse humanely euthanized, and then how are they going to handle the carcass and those kinds of things. And they did a fabulous job with that project. And I think they came away with a really better sense of some of the other issues that's out there in the industry that people are struggling with.
And
Leslie,
that's a good example too, because that had 2 students working on it. So they had to learn how to work together and never met each other before, and they were both virtual. So that took a good amount of teamwork, and again, that kind of communication and figuring out. They were in opposite time zones. They were calling groups in different time zones. They had to figure out how to navigate the virtual tools they had. So that project, the deliverable on that was really great. And then they both felt like they got a lot out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Leslie, what are some of the skills that they pick up when they come to one of your internships? I mean, in addition to the hard work of booking the stalls and all that kind of stuff.
I'd say it's learning to live and living to learn. So they become full-time employees on the farm, and it is mentored. I mean, the farms that participate with us have to have a farm mentor. I meet with them every week because we have weekly lectures and activities. And then we have a huge group of alumni that live and work in Lexington. So they have a lot of support there. But, really, I think it's up to the interns to they are going to do basic farm chores and work, but I always tell them it doesn't hurt to ask to do anything you want, because if you ask, you'll probably get to do things. And so some of them will transition into do some office work, or one student I know really wanted to see as many stallion farms as possible. So they took it upon themselves to be the truck and trailer driver to haul the mares around. But, they've got to be work on time. They've got to, stay after if they've got sick horses to take care of. So they really learn what being a full-time farm employee is, but they also have some assignments to do. So, I really emphasize them learning time management, responsibilities, and a lot of those other skills that they'll need to move on.
That's awesome. Katie, what about for AQHA? What kind of skills do you see that your interns walk away with at the completion of their internship?
Well, I think for me, and particularly with our youth interns, but really I see this in every department that has interns and internship programs periodically. We do give our interns, their own scope of responsibility. So we challenge them. Sometimes we let them fail in small ways with supervision. Obviously, you want there to be, somebody there to catch stuff. But in those ways, I think that you're definitely helping to build great employees who are willing and able and have some background in learning to take instruction and receive feedback with grace. You're showing them how to own projects and giving them as much independence as possible. Those are things that people don't necessarily arrive with, that should hopefully serve them well throughout their career. In a more concrete sense, I have learned through the years that I don't assume they have basic office skills. They may have great horse experience if they are some of those kids that have had that hands-on horse experience, which, as I said before, is not always the case. This is an association. We work in an office environment almost every day. The only exceptions to that are when we are, at events. And so they may not know how to proof their own work well, how to create documents or emails that are professional and, meet those expectations for communication style. They may not even have experience building professional rapport with colleagues. And so all of those things, I think, are things that we can help them arrive at their next destination with, regardless of if they use some specific skills. And those are all just very real things that you kind of don't always learn until you're trying to be an adult and you're trying to get out there and really try to make your own way. So I think, we also, because we are in this office environment, they're going to learn all kinds of things. And I'm very happy to give them time and open the door for connections with some of our colleagues, since we have, a pretty sizable number of employees and some fair degrees of specialization throughout this building and in our, in our association. And I'm happy to set up stuff so they can go specialize in things and kind of keep adding to their, not only their experiences, but also their Rolodex, so more people can get to know them.
That's a great way for me to jump into the next question, which is about the value of this internship for networking and being a jumping off point for them to find other avenues to pursue. Emily, you feel free to chime in, but I can honestly say our interns have almost always left with that Rolodex that Katie mentioned. They had a good handful of contacts. I think I had several interns this summer session who landed a second internship in a different place in the industry because of some of the people they met along the way when they did their research. But Emily, tell me about your experience with the networking aspect of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with the ones that came to the conference last year, it really opened their eyes into, like the others have said, what opportunities are in the horse industry that they might not have thought about. And what that means in terms of going out into the greater world, they have a better idea of, okay, maybe I don't want to be doing hands-on horse care, but I want to be in the horse industry. The networking that the internships provides them, they might not know where to go, but they could at least come back to you, Julie, and say, hey, can you recommend somebody for me that might let me know how to get into communications and marketing for horse shows? Or just from coming to our conference, I believe we had that gal that came to our conference, and she was, what was she, ROTC, and she got connected. Yeah. And she got connected with the Caisson platoon, and like totally changed her whole trajectory just from coming to a conference a little bit, I feel like. So it's a big part of it in terms of the networking is just showing up and introducing yourself. And that can be in person or on a call virtually. But I think that's a huge part of the networking. And for a lot of the students, if you're on your own trying to do that, that can be really scary. And whether you're 18 or 35, just in terms of the range of these interns we've had. But when you come into an internship and you have someone to kind of guide you through the process of beginning your networking, I think that eases you into it in a way that makes it feel much easier once you're on the other side.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'll add two other things real quickly, and then I'm going to ask Leslie to chime in. One of the things we do for our interns is when they complete their internship, they get a letter of reference from us to put in their portfolio. So that helps them when they're going to the next place. But I always tell them, if you need an introduction somewhere along the way, come back to me. That's especially true for the interns we get who are thinking they might want to go into research. And in order to do their master's degree or their PhD, they have to do a research project. And we're all about trying to help them. So if they design a research project and they need a way to get that message out to the industry to participate in a survey or whatever to help supply the data that's needed for them to do that next step in their education, we always are very happy to help them and introduce them to the right people. Leslie, what do you tend to find interns that come out of your program? The one you gave the example of, the individual that wanted to go to several stallion farms, probably had a much larger network than one that just went to a farm.
Well, networking is a big part of our internship. So they're certainly going to be exposed to a lot of different people that come out to the farms, whether that's the veterinarians and the farriers and the feed company reps. But through the weekly meetings that we have, we do bring people from all facets in so they can meet those people. And then the interns are also required to do a monthly job shadow and a monthly volunteering assignment. And so I try to help them out and, give me some ideas of careers you are interested in, because I can certainly find somebody that does that. And then we have, like I said, the big alumni group of students or, alumni of our program that are there in Lexington. And so they're another resource for them. So pretty much anything they can think of that they're interested in, we can find somebody for them to go and do a job shadow with, so that they can be exposed to more and more people. But I think they come out of it with a huge, like somebody said, just a Rolodex of people that they've met and that can help them along in their future.
Yeah, I'll say at the conference this past year, Emily, we had one of the students that was there, and I think they introduced themselves to every person in the room and collected a business card. So when she left at the end of the conference, she had a huge deck of cards in her hand.
Yes.
I make my interns do that too. Sometimes I have a business card contest, who can collect the most,
That's good, that's good.
but it's got to be real ones, people they actually
Right.
use, not just stuff they pick up somewhere.
Hey, so my last question for today, gals, is talk about strategies to help students find, secure, and get these internship opportunities. We are good partners with the Equine Science Society and the North American Equine Affiliated Academics Association, which is all the universities that have equine programs. We post those internships out there. We share them on social media and circulate them around. We put them in our newsletter to try to make certain that students know that there's internships out there. But I can honestly say that some of the professors at the universities know us. We speak to their capstone classes and those kinds of things, and we talk about these. And it's not uncommon. I was just telling Emily earlier this morning that Dr. Amy Burke over at the University of Maryland cornered me this past weekend when she saw me, and she said, "I've got a great student looking for an internship. I'm sending her to you." I said, "Perfect." So those professors, and Emily, you speak to this, will really help those students if they approach their professor and say, "I'm looking for an internship." They can help direct them. What do you think, Emily?
Totally. And I think especially it speaks a lot to the networking within the academics themselves, and just kind of the broader range of horse industry networking. Once you get that connection with one person, whether it's your professor or your boss of the internship, it really opens up kind of the whole world of the horse industry. It's like its own Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of separation.
Great example. Leslie, what do you think about what would be your advice to help students figure out how to secure an internship?
They just have to be willing to look for them, because there's so many out there. And I think sometimes it's just a matter of them being a little bit scared to try something outside their comfort zone sometimes, especially the thoroughbred industry. It's, everybody thinks it's so secretive or so, I don't know, wristband sport or whatever. So we do put some stuff out on social media, not very much. I'm not a big social media person personally, but I am in ESS and NAE, and the biggest way that we get out there is I do travel a lot. I usually visit between 50 and 75 college campuses every year. And I
Wow.
just talk about not necessarily thoroughbreds, not necessarily racing. I talk about the horse industry in general and the jobs and opportunities. And I say, look, if you think you want a job in the industry, this is something you can try. Just give it a whirl, try it out and see if it's something for you. But I really think I think I just try to get out there in front of as many students as I can and just give them that little carrot, try it out, come see what it's all about. And that's how I do it.
Wow. Katie, what about you guys at AQHA? How do you go about kind of reeling in these students to do these internships? Or you get overwhelmed with they know about you and you get lots of applicants?
It really varies, and I don't know what feeds the result one way or the other. It seems like some years we have a lot of great applicants for an internship. In other years, we don't have that many. And we're kind of having to, shake the bushes a little to see if we can get who we need. We do post our opportunities, whether it's for full-time employment or an internship, through our website. And then we also typically will post openings on Indeed, but we have really enjoyed using Of the West, which has been it's a very ag community focused, career oriented kind of networking spot. And they do a great job of only keeping, very current job postings up there. So, if you go there, that it's going to be something that is current,
that is recent and is ag related. So we've found some great folks through that. And as we've all talked about, the network matters. And we see that sometimes we'll even share on Facebook, or even like I or somebody else on our team will share on our personal Facebook page about a posting. And then it's a friend of a friend who saw it. We will email or text our contacts at different universities. So I agree with the statement that if you want an internship, tell people that you want a great internship. They will know where those are typically found, or they will pick up the phone on your behalf. And, we've even created opportunities for people. If somebody says, I have someone who will do such a good job for you, and I will put my name behind them, then we will go, well, we've had this project kind of waiting in the wings. So let's see if this is justifiable for, the pay and all of that. And that has worked out, with some really great results. I think on the flip side of it, to be perfectly blunt, if you apply for an internship, polish your resume. If I see typos and alignment issues, and I see you, Julie, nodding and smiling, if you have not proofed that document until it's perfect, or had somebody do that for you, it doesn't have to be you. If that's not your strength, that's okay. But you need to know yourself, and that first impression with a cover letter, and especially your resume, should fit the position that you are interested in getting and should be perfect. Otherwise, it kind of tells me that maybe you don't care enough, or you're not detail oriented, and that is not where you want to start if you're trying to get a position. So also, I think if I see that on your resume or on your application, if I see that you have judged on a team where I feel like I have a connection, if you've attended a school where there's a professor that I know, if I suspect we have a connection in common, then I will pick up the phone and call them, whether they are on your references or not. So kind of keep that in mind. And, just know that network trumps everything. If it's someone that I trust and they tell me they had a great experience with you, that can open a lot of doors.
That's absolutely true. I will say that we usually have, to your point, Katie, we usually have about a half a dozen projects per semester that we're looking to staff interns to work on. But I have had cases where I've had a compelling intern come to me with a strong recommendation from someone I knew and said, this person really wants to do this project. And I'm like, okay, I don't have that particular project right now this semester, but let me talk to staff. And the staff, Emily and others on my staff can tell you, we sit down about a month before the start of the semester. So we'll sit down late November, early December, map out the projects we're going to do for the spring semester, and then we'll post them out there and start accepting applicants and start looking at that. But it's not uncommon for us to come back and say, just what you did, Katie. There was one project that we didn't even think of when we were brainstorming this list that suddenly now we've got an intern who might be really great at it, and we want to fill it if we can, if there's an opportunity. Sometimes we have particular projects, and Emily can speak to this a little bit more, that are funded by grants that we get, and they don't come with paid internships. So we're looking for an intern who wants to do something for course credit rather than for the stipend that we pay. And in other cases, it's completely different. Emily, what's your thoughts about that?
In terms of kind of what opportunities are out there, I think for us, especially with the grant funded ones, you feel bad turning people away. If I had people pounding on the door saying, yeah, we'll do this unpaid and without course credit, for us personally, I feel so bad asking them to do that and put their time and passion into it. If we can't compensate them, whether it's with course credit or with cash. But for something like NAD prep, especially in terms of, that's not just a horse industry opportunity, that's a government grant opportunity. So that's something that if you can get experience with that is so applicable to even just outside the horse industry too. That relays into the larger ag atmosphere as well. And I think, especially when we're talking about interns and we're talking about experiences for them, you know, we get so focused on the horse industry, but everything we do in the horse industry is applicable to that bigger ag world. So if you have a 4-H kid who maybe they're comfortable with horses, but they don't know what they want to do with their career yet, a horse industry internship can still benefit them if they're looking for a larger ag world career. You know, just because you're interning in the horse world doesn't mean you need to spend your whole life in the horse world.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we wrap up, I'm just going to say, if you are out there and you're interested in an internship opportunity, by all means, email us at info@horsecouncil.org, and I'm happy to connect you with Katie and Leslie and anybody in the space that might have some internship opportunities, and see if we can help find you a great fit. And so I'm going to pause there and just do two little last minute housekeeping things. So today's webinar is brought to you by the Wild Horse Refuge. If you aren't familiar with these folks, they are a private nonprofit sanctuary dedicated exclusively to rescuing Mustangs that have been removed from Colorado's herd management areas. And these wild horses now roam freely on 47 square miles of protected, continuous land that's been restored to allow those horses to run free. Right now, they are home to to about 250 Mustangs, and the refuge itself is about 30 miles from the Sandwash Basin and under 40 miles from Douglas, which is one of the other protection areas. Some of these were born out on the range. Some of them have had a variety of different experiences, but unlike traditional sanctuaries with paddocks and enclosures, the Wild Horse Refuge offers truly a rewilding and a natural free roaming life for these Mustangs. So we really appreciate Scott and his team over there sponsoring today's webinar. And last thing I wanted to say before we drop off is that if you're interested, the American Horse Council does a monthly podcast on Horses in the Morning radio network. And our October podcast is going to be all about the importance of volunteers. So internships are great, but we also use a lot of volunteers in the horse industry. So we have a subject matter expert who does volunteer management for a number of associations, and he's going to join us and talk about how to recruit, retain, and engage volunteers. So I invite you to listen in to hear that. So with that, are there any closing remarks from any of my guests today? And we will wrap up.
I think the only thing that I want to add is just whether you're an intern or you're an employer of an intern, you know, most of us are in this industry because we really love it. And so one of the things that I try to tell people is we work hard and we're going to have fun. And then I try to deliver on that because working with horses and horse people should be fun. And I think that, you know, make sure if you're an intern that you find the right culture or you identify what you want in a culture going forward. And as an employer, you know, make sure that you do the best that you can to help them find their community with you or in the future.
Thanks, Katie. Leslie, you got anything you want to close with?
I just want to say that while we work with the thoroughbred farms in Lexington, we're not limited to students that are just interested in racing. You know, working on the farms is working on the farms, and foaling out mares is foaling out mares, and, you know, that sort of thing. So we invite students who are just looking for any kind of additional hands-on experience and exposure. We get a lot of students that want to go to vet school, and this, you know, really helps them to get some practical hands-on experience. So, unbelievably, 99% of my interns have never touched a thoroughbred before. So it's not just about the racing. It's about just getting some, again, horse experience and exposure to the greater equine industry there in Lexington.
Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, Katie. Thanks, Emily, for helping me out today. And we will button up this recording and we will have it up on our AHC website probably in the next day or two. So you can go and hear the replay, or if you didn't make it to today and you just want to go listen to it for the first time, it'll be out there. And I'll share it with Leslie and Katie in case they want to share it with their audiences too. So thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day and a beautiful fall. So bye.